everyone and welcome back to Anuradha and Harini's innovative channel. Today we are going to have a past learning history session. So, are you all ready? In my latest video, we spoke about Jacobins and the region of terror, right? Let's learn more about this chapter in French Revolution Part 4. So, let's start off. So, before I start with this video, I would like to tell you all that you all know that the Jacobins had a great downfall. And why did they have this great downfall? Because of their leader, Maximilian Robespierre, right? But when they had a downfall, the richer section of the society came to know that they are not going to pass any rule for the next few months. So all the people came together and they formed a new constitution, and this constitution denied the vote to the non-property sections of the society. What do I mean by non-property sections of the society? I mean the Jacobins, because we all know that the Jacobins came from the non-prosperous sections of the society, like shopkeepers, maids, etc. So this constitution provided for two elected legislative councils, and after this council was elected, these people appointed the directory. What do I mean by the directory? I mean an executive that is made up of 5 members. Why do they want to keep 5 members and not only just one director? Because they wanted to safeguard against the concentration of power in one man executive as under the Jacobins. So again, they're going against the Jacobins, right? Okay. So now, all they're trying to do is they're trying to say that all the power should not lie in the hands of only one person. It should be distributed equally among 5 members so that no one misuses their power. But we all know that the directors and the legislative council had similar powers. So they often clashed, and when they clashed, it led to political instability. And all this hangama which was happening, it all paved the way for the rise of a military director whose name was Napoleon Bonaparte. This person plays a very important role at the end of the chapter, but for now we will only see how he came into picture. How? By the political instability of the directory. So now we have learned about the directory rules of France. But actually, what happened is the Jacobins did not, stay in pause for a long time. They sooner or later they came back into rule, and they started giving many reforms for France. And one of their most revolutionary reform was abolition of slavery. In this chapter, we would not be learning about slavery abolition in the entire world. We would only be learning about abolition of slavery in France. Obviously, it is French Revolution, so we'll be learning about France in this chapter. So first, let me tell you that France is in Europe, and the Europeans used to get goods from Americans. Goods like tobacco, indigo, sugar, coffee, etc. So in America, they used to get the goods from Caribbean, and inside Caribbean from 3 places: Martinique, Guadeloupe, and San Domingo. So these 3 places were the most important suppliers of goods such as tobacco, indigo, sugar, coffee, etc. But soon what happened is the laborers from Europe who used to go and work in America for goods, they started refusing for 3 reasons. First, they were paid very less. Second, because they had to travel a very long distance. And third, America was a very unfamiliar land for them. So now, all these reasons, what did they mean? They meant a shortage of labor on the plantations. And when there's a shortage of labor, what will happen? The European demand, the goods that Europeans used to get, that demand would grow in the market, right? And Europeans won't even get goods from America because they will say that you're not giving us labor, so why will we give you goods? So now all this led to a big problem, that is slavery. That is, people started buying slaves from the market. Like how we buy branded clothes from Allen Solly, Max, Westside, etc. People started buying branded slaves from the market. This is a picture over here which shows how the Africans were actually treated. And you know what? I'm just giving an extra information. There was a big revolutionary movement in America by the Africans. And usually they were called as blacks and whites, but now we don't call like that. Means it's an offense if we call like that. I just want to tell that it's actually a very, very shame on the Americans to treat the Africans as slaves. Even today, we have maids coming into our homes, but we don't treat them as slaves, right? We just treat them good because they do work for us. So now let's concentrate on the chapter. So now we have learned about slavery. Let's learn how slavery flourished as a trade. Okay. So I have put a picture here. What do you understand with this picture? Just pause the video and try to understand. Okay, so now let me explain this particular picture. This is a part of the world map. If you look at the world map, Europe, and below that there is Africa, and just next to Africa, towards its left hand side, there is America. So these three places, they form a triangle, right? America in the sense North America, not South America. So what actually happened is, you can see that first arrow which is going from America to Europe, that is the arrow which shows the goods going from America to Europe. But now as the people started refusing to work, the Americans never gave goods to the Europeans. And now when they did not get goods, the Europeans went to Africa for help. And Africans, what did they do? They became slaves. And they were branded and shackled, and they were put into ships, and they were sent to America, that is the Caribbean. And over there, these Americans, used them as labor. And after they, got all the work from them, they gave all the goods to Europeans. So if you see this entire thing, Europeans are going to get benefited, Americans are going to get benefited. But you see, Africans are not benefited at all because they are working for the Europeans, right? Europeans and Americans. They are not getting benefited. Sooner or later, even they revolt, but we will not be learning about that right now, as I've already told you. So now let's see about this slave trade, which was known as the triangular slave trade. So now this triangular slave trade was between Europe, Africa and America, and it began in the 17th century itself. Okay? French merchants sailed from the ports of Bordeaux and Nantes in the African coast, where they bought slaves from local chieftains. They branded and shackled them, and they were all packed into ships for a 3-month-long voyage across the Atlantic to the Caribbean. And after that, they were sold to the plantation owners in America. The exploitation of slave labor made it possible to meet the growing demand in the European markets for sugar, coffee, and indigo. So now finally the Europeans are getting sugar, coffee, and indigo. But now you will see that the French people would not like this. They will sooner or later abolish slavery in France. Port cities like Bordeaux and Nantes owed their economic property to the flourishing slave trade. So now it has actually become a earn for livelihood for the French merchants who used to go to Africa. So now it has become their income. Now let's see what actually happens in France. Let's look at France now instead of seeing the entire world. Abolition of slavery. As I've already told you, that abolition of slavery was one of the most revolutionary social reform by the Jacobin regime. So throughout the 18th century, there was a criticism of slavery in France. The National Assembly held long debates about whether rights of man should be extended to all French subjects, including those in the colonies. But I told you, right, passing a law is not a common man's job. It is a very, very big thing, and it involves a lot of process. That law which is you're going to pass, it should not, non-benefit someone. So they cannot actually just pass laws that abolish the slavery. They have to first know what is the state of the country, and then they can pass a law, right? Because I told you it's an earn for livelihood for those French merchants who are going to Africa and buying slaves. So that would actually lead to less income for them. But they thought a lot, they had long debates, they spoke about it to the normal people, and they finally, in 1794, they legislated to free all the slaves in the French overseas possessions. French is a very important word, not in the entire world, it is only in France they are abolishing. But, however, this law which they passed, it was a short term measure because again Napoleon Bonaparte is come again. So he introduced slavery again. But do you think the people will just let him go like that? No. They will actually fight with him and tell him that slavery is not needed. And soon the plantation owners also understood their freedom as including the right to enslave the African Negroes in pursuit of their economic interest. And finally, slavery was abolished in the French colonies in 1848. Now, this is a picture, a very famous picture which was painted during that time. It says, "I'm not a man, but I'm a brother. I'm your brother." So it's actually very common. Even today people say that. Some people, not us. So it just means that I have the same organs and I have the same body. I have the same functioning in my body. So I'm no different from you. I'm not your slave. I'm your brother. Okay. So now I come to the end of this video session. I hope you have understood this particular video. It talks about directory rules, abolition of slavery, and the triangular slave trade. So for now, bye, and please like and subscribe to my video. Thank you.